Hello, I'm Georgia Evans, Clinical Assistant Professor at the University of West Georgia. Welcome to my session, Developing Educational Leaders that Address Equity. In our session, we recognize that school and district leaders are critical factors to having equitable schools, and that leadership preparation programs have a tremendous influence on the knowledge, skills, understanding, and capabilities of educational leaders. With our current focus on equity, many educational leadership preparation programs are beginning to examine their curricula and make revisions to ensure that their programs are really developing the district and school leaders that are capable of serving marginalized populations and high-need schools. As they start the revision conversations, there's a need for a common vocabulary as well as a consistent understanding of equity. That is the focus of this session. Topics that will be discussed: equitable schools, inclusive principal leadership, as well as the steps for building an equitable school. When considering an equitable school, we find that these schools have a culture and practice of valuing every student, regardless of their ethnicity, race, socioeconomic status, language, sexual preference, or disability. Each learner is valued by all members of the school. We know that equitable schools provide all students access to a high-quality education. And we find the following characteristics in an equitable school: improving academic performance, a strengthened and continuing to be strengthened cultural competence, increased social and political awareness, reduced discipline, improved attendance, an environment that is safe and positive, and your stakeholders, students, staff, and parents, recognize that in their perceptions of the school, as well as a consistent and strengthened focus on emotional intelligence. Inclusive principal leaders are leaders who stand up for others, demonstrate courage, and take risk. They recognize the importance of relationships, and they strive to build those relationships through trust and honest conversation. Inclusive leaders are accessible, involved in the work, yet willing to act when necessary. They are reflective and focus on and promote collaboration. Inclusive leaders are grounded by the confidence that they are doing the right thing. Inclusive leaders recognize inequities and create opportunities and structures to address them. They are constantly using data to determine what works and does not work, and they provide for the specific needs of students. Based on the data and analysis, they will assign staff and distribute resources to meet student needs, not based on teacher preference. Inclusive leaders use site-based leadership and collaboration, and they promote teams who work together to build an environment of equity. We wish there was a magic formula for building equitable schools, but we know there's not. The same way the steps that we're about to discuss will fit most schools, but one size does not fit all. The first step is there must be a vision and goals that focus on equity and on closing gaps. The vision is focused on learning as well as database goals that are important for success of all students. The vision includes a high performance expectation, a climate of respect, a culture of collaboration, an embracing of diversity in ethnicity, gender, culture, and language, and the shared responsibility for achieving goals to ensure that the school reaches its capacity. The second step is embracing differences and addressing misconceptions. An equitable school culture is welcoming and embraces diversity and differences. They recognize that difference is an essential part of our history as well as our current reality. Diversity and differences in students, staff, and community are celebrated and embraced. Misconceptions are acknowledged and addressed. Whether the misconception is about certain groups of students or a deficit theory belief in underachievement. Misconceptions may include unconscious bias, but when they're found, they are exposed and refuted. The third step is providing students instruction on how to be successful. That's both academically and behaviorally. High expectations begin by changing what educators and students believe is possible. For some students, success is not something they know and does not seem likely. Teachers work to change that belief. Inclusive schools and educators purposely teach academic and behavioral skills and strategies. Academic strategies such as organization, time management, note-taking, and study skills have been proven to help students be successful. Thus, they are taught. Teaching students to articulate what they want, do not understand, and need to learn gives students a voice and allows them ownership in their learning. Recognizing that different cultures, ethnic groups, religions, and socioeconomic levels often have their own rules for behavior, teachers, without discounting the behavior expectations taught at home, teach students the rules of successful behavior at school. They teach students that different rules apply in different circumstances. For instance, we all know that basketball rules do not work on a football field, and our students seem to understand that. We've got to give them credit for understanding the differences in rules in school and rules at home. Equitable schools examine their discipline. They use data to seek out and address disproportionality. They share data with staff, and they are constantly focused on ensuring that discipline is equitable. The fourth step looks at high expectations and effective instruction. In an equitable school, learning is the heart of what the school does. In an equitable school, every system is aligned to support teaching and learning. Teachers know their job is to ensure students achieve mastery of specific academic content and skills. The goal is to help every student achieve a deep level of understanding. Passive learning is not promoted. Teachers move away from teacher-centered approaches to embrace student-centered approaches. There's a recognition that students learn best through experience, mistakes, asking questions, and group interaction. Our fifth step is an environment that is safe and affirming. In an equitable school, the environment welcomes all and values all. Building relationships with family and the community is part of what the school does. Partnerships are based on respect, trust, and empathy, not pity. Partnerships with the community, such as with hospitals, health clinics, nonprofits, religious organizations, and community agencies, are encouraged, embraced, because these partnerships can be used to help address the needs of our students. The sixth step in developing equitable schools is to hire well and provide effective professional learning. Successful school leaders seek out ways to instill efficacy in their hiring practices, and they promote continued learning for their employees. According to Linda Darlene Hammond, Michelle LaPointe, Deborah Mirison, Margaret Terry Orr, schools succeed in part because of their ability to employ and continue to develop strong teachers. Thus, equitable schools, once hired, encourage teachers to not only seek their own training, but provide ongoing, high-quality opportunities for learning that focuses on relevant problems of practice and student needs. Teachers need to know how to reach and provide rigorous, relevant, and responsive instruction for students from all groups. Now, along with the focus on instructional, professional learning, teachers are taught skills on effective teaching of content to diverse learners and on best ways to design and engage students in a hands-on curriculum. As we develop educational leaders that address equity, it's important for higher ed institutions and leader prep organizations to have a definition for inclusive schools, to recognize the characteristics of inclusive leaders, and to know the steps for creating equitable schools. Inequities in schools can only be addressed when they become important to schools. Without leaders that recognize issues and have the skills, concepts, and knowledge to address them, schools will continue to face achievement and opportunity gaps. So with higher ed programs, as well as K-12 educational agencies, educators have to believe that addressing inequities is valuable and important, and they have to feel empowered to work toward change. Thank you for your attention. I appreciate your time.